Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
You are now tuned in to this week's episode of our podcast. Today we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. By sharing our collective expertise, we will show you how to harness, control, and use your own skill set to achieve ultimate success and live the life you want. And now, please welcome your host.
Good to have you online. Well lived by Omobola Stephen. This is your host, Omobola Stephen. Online well lived. We like to explore topics on the self-improvement and personal development, offering disruptive mindset conversation, yet constructive in nature with expert and professionals who are hard in these topics. We realize the importance of embracing personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives. Although it's a lifelong process, we must embrace. But I tell you, in order for us to move from where we are to where we need to be, having a really transformed mindset, we need to personally develop ourselves and self-improve ourselves along the course of our lives. This is the mission and the focus of Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen, focusing on what is truly important and shining more light on what is truly inside of us and how we can bring it to the fore, harnessing and maximizing it. And at the end of the day, having a fulfilling and worthwhile life that we are truly meant to have in the side of eternity. Today, I have Erin Andrea Craske, who is a business and leadership success coach and also an award-winning strategist. On Life Well Lived, she will be talking more about our trademark, effortless strategy in terms of our business and also our personal life. Let's get right into the discussion. Once again, welcome Erin Andrea Craske on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here.
Yeah,
I'll
thanks
be
so much
delighted
for
to be
joining.
helpful to your audience.
Absolutely. My audience are looking forward to a really transformative and worthwhile show with you, Erin. We talk about your trademark, talking about effortless strategy, applying in our daily lives and also in our business strategy. Now, our conditioning, I like to start with this introduction. Our conditioning often involves managing businesses by attending to surface level symptoms while neglecting the underlying systemic issues. Why did you think this is so, or how did you arrive at this conclusion, Erin?
Well, okay, let's start from something totally irrelevant to the business. It's like in medicine, very often what we happen to do, we happen to treat symptoms of different illnesses until it's probably a little bit too late. And then while we're treating one symptoms, we have something else, that as a result of this treatment. And that goes all the time. So why isn't it easier to look under all the symptoms and see, is there any root causes, any systemic issues that we can address once and for all, so all the symptoms become irrelevant? And this is how, I started thinking, because it all started with me talking to different businesses and in order to understand the patterns behind their performance or underperformance. And when you see what actually they name, it's even, you don't even need to talk to them if you don't want to. All this information is available on internet, the top reasons why businesses fail, they all mention exactly the same thing. So what actually happens? So there's a pattern, they do exactly the same mistakes. And within the first 3 to 5 years, 50%, according to statistic across all countries I checked, that was Europe, UK, and the States, 50% of businesses fail. And then another 70, then they fail, I think, by the end of 7th or 10th year. So looking at the statistic, the first thing that comes to mind is that actually the first 3 to 5 years in operation is typically called strategic planning period, right? So if you look at it from this perspective, and again, you talk to businesses and you see the reasons behind their misfortune, and you realize that actually they don't have strategy, right? Strategy, this is your systemic issue, because what they're trying to do to fix the business, they work on tactics, they work on temporary improvements, they work on different actions and best practices, but they're all symptoms. If you have no strategy, it doesn't really matter how long you'll be trying to change directions and make something better, it's not going to work. So that was like the first analogy, that came to mind, because strategy is definitely foundation of any business operation. So that's a must. Then I started looking at leadership, because I had my own experience in leadership. I also watched quite, a lot of leaders that I worked with. And what came to mind, there's so many different leadership trainings all over the place. And then there's so many leadership podcasts, and they all explain how to. It's like how to in business, how to in leadership. And they all want to get, please give me an actionable advice how we can do it. And then again, that made me think. It's like, if there's so many different trainings and there's so many podcasts, why don't we have good leaders? Because everybody talks about the same thing, that, leadership nowadays is toxic and it's challenging, and teams are disengaged and teams going through burnout, and, so the situation isn't changing. So and I thought, okay, why? So again, we're treating symptoms, aren't we? We're treating symptoms through all these trainings. We're treating symptoms through all this how to be a better leader. But if the person, first of all, isn't ready for it, if they don't want this training, because often trainings are paid by the company, it doesn't mean that the person wants to change. It doesn't mean that he wants to go through these trainings. And also because the information that is very often theoretical is presented in so many different tips and how-tos, at point, sometimes it becomes really even challenging to remember. And then let's look at the systemic issue, because all that I've just mentioned are symptoms, but underneath all these how-tos, you have a personality, right? And the personality, this will be your root cause, because as much as you try to embellish your personality with trainings, it may work only in certain cases, and in most it won't. Because in any stressful situation, your personality will shine through, for its better or for its worse. So that was kind of another analogy, that came to mind. So then we also I looked at it from profitability perspective, because profitability is more complex, because profitability is a holistic approach to business. It is about how you treat different business streams longer term. It's not about return on investment. It's totally different entity. And again, underneath profitability is your holistic approach to business management, something that businesses don't really quite pay attention, because it's not holistic. We need to fix here, we need to shower there, we need to improve this way, we need to make it straight. It doesn't really matter, but it's not holistic daily improvement. It's always often firefighting, trying to fix something that isn't working, right? And that is not the profitability path. That is a path to struggle, to stress, and to burnout, and to disengagement. This is what it is. So I just, looking at everything and looking at the state of affairs, I thought that what we're trying to do is like having a storm, like storm raging, on the level, on the earth level, and then underneath you have this depth, quiet, tranquil depth of water. And this is your systemic thing. So it doesn't really matter what we're raging, what we're trying to do on top, on the surface. It just creates more stormy weather, more stormy waves. But if you go underneath and you will see this quiet depth, this is where you can fix. So you have no storms anymore. So that's how, I came with this analogy.
All right, brilliant explanation you have there, Erin. So let's talk about effortless leadership approach. We focus on effortless because that's your trademark. Why should we go beyond authenticity into our true selves and combining freedom and meaning? Now, talking about leadership, can you shed more light on this?
About leadership.
That's right.
Yeah. So, there is a truth. And I just know that the truth. When we were born pure, kind, powerful, confident individuals, because we were all born exactly the same. So what we became, this is something that we acquired over our lifetime, and some things serve us and others don't. So when we become leaders, we are not any longer ourselves as we were born to be, but we ourselves covered into this volcanic ash, of what we acquire, just layers after layers after layers. And we believe that this is who we are, which is not true, because who we are is underneath everything that we acquired. And when you look at leadership, everybody, people talk about authentic leadership, but authentic leadership, it means that you do good things. It means that you come with empathy, and it means that you are faithful to your values. But your values are relevant to the person you are at the moment. And what if you go underneath everything that doesn't serve you and become the person that you were meant to be when you were born? And lead from this perspective. Lead from the perspective that you don't need to have approval, that you don't need to have fears, that you don't need to struggle through relationship. You don't need to be afraid of making decisions and standing by your decisions. You're not afraid of making presentations and, presenting your strategy and engaging with your teams in a way that they trust you, that they believe in you, because that's the most important thing. When they trust you, when they feel safe, this is when they're going to be motivated to deliver, for the benefit of your business. So basically, instead of going through hundreds of different trainings or going through headaches of running a business and stress and insecurities, just make this first and only one step of going back to yourself as you as you meant to be, and lead from this place, because it just, the whole thing changes. I know it because this is what I'm living, and this is what I help my clients to achieve. So I know it is possible. And the result is absolutely outstanding because people absolutely love who they became after the program. So, and from this place, not only your business becomes easier, because again, as we started earlier, through one change, you're able to address many different symptoms, but also because it's already different you, it's going to have ripple effect onto your personal life and private relationship and how you live privately, with your community, your family. So it's gonna affect your mental health and cognitive health, well-being, relational health. So you get, pardon me, you get the result that is just gonna cover so many different aspects of your life through one change that you go through. So that's how the effortless leadership was born, from me being this person and watching and analyzing and then working with clients. I was like, oh, wow. So it definitely works.
All right. And now establishing a business is all about making profit. Whether we like it or not, that's just the core of, establishing a business. But really talking about achieving our profitability flow effortlessly, is it possible to bring in profitability without much effort or collateral damage to any business?
Well, I don't believe you can get effort without doing nothing, right? So let's define effort to start with. Because for me, effort is anything that doesn't come easy. For me, effort is the thing that brings stress, that brings negative emotions, that brings insecurities and fears. That is what effort is for me. When you need to give more of yourself without having much in return. And giving more of yourself, it's on an emotional level as well, because everything that is draining, that drains you of your energy, that is effortful. In my world, in the world of my clients, effortless is the opposite. It's when you live and lead and create in a place of harmony with yourself and the environment, and from the place of mental peace, right? So this is when we define it from this perspective, it's kind of helps you better understand what I mean profitability flow and making it effortless. So again, it's not about doing nothing. It's not about that, but it's about how you mentally perceive the profitability and business in your company, and how you approach the process of profitability building. Profitability is long term, it's always long term. So it's about having your destination where you want to go, where every activity, it's like bricks, you are building your path towards your destination. So that's the profitability thing. And you have different pillars that all contribute to your business being profitable. So the approach is to take care of each of these pillars on a daily basis through daily improvement, right? So you are not stressing out about your goals that are very often called toxic goals, because whether you achieve these goals or don't, you're not going to be happy. Because if you don't achieve, you're going to be blaming yourself, the whole business, the team, the world, and whatever, the minute you were born, because you didn't achieve the goal that you so much wanted to get to. Or when you achieve it, your joy was going to be one day short-lived, because what's going to be next? Next, you're going to set up a next goal, right? So all your life, it's about moving, persevering, striving to get to the goal that is so challenging and so stressful, whether you get it or not, right? So that approach, I don't believe it works again, it's not good for our mental health. It's not good for mental health of our teams. What if you look at the business streams that all lead to profitability and try to improve them day by day, a little bit here, a little bit there? What will happen? That first of all, when you focus on daily improvement, your business will get better, right? Because you are improving what is not working. Secondly, you improve it holistically. So your business holistically becomes better. And thirdly, it's impossible for the business that is getting better every day not to become profitable. But in your head, what you're doing, you are improving little things, and you get satisfaction from seeing things improved. So it's totally different approach to the mindset, how you look at your business, and again, so much better on your mental health, because you replace stress with satisfaction. That is kind of it just matters how you look at things and how you learn to look at things. So it's one thing. And another, in terms, again, if we talk about mental health, because it is very important nowadays, one of profitability pillars is contribution that stems from purpose. Purpose is strategic, contribution is tactical. Contribution and purpose, they bring resilience, they bring motivation, they bring engagement, they bring right people joining the company, they bring right team morale. And through that, all the things that I mentioned, they will help elevate your team and your business, and again, contribute to your mental health. So altogether, you still have exactly the same business, but the way you approach it, it's so much healthier for the business itself and for every person involved into the process. And through that, you get to profitability. So it's just a matter of looking, when I coach clients, we're looking at all these profitability pillars and seeing what can be improved, how they can improve it without, again, stressing out or without depleting resources, because everything should be realistic. Business must be satisfactory and joyful. It shouldn't be, effortful, striving through the end goal, destroying yourself, your teams, and probably, your family relationship throughout this process.
All right, thank you, Erin Andrea, for sharing your thoughts on the show. And I'm still talking about effortless approach. Now, in terms of personal life, which is also very important for us to explore on this show, because we talk about, living a life well lived as the theme of the podcast, Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. So in terms of that, how can we achieve a life of freedom or a effortless living, if I might put it?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for asking, because as much as I would like it to be how-to, again, with how-to, I'm not really, they're not my friends. How-to is good when you know why, but how-tos are not a replacement for why. So this is why I'm kind of focusing on deeper reasons. So with regards to effortless living, it's a 6-stage process, but if I try to make it a little bit easier to comprehend, it's about 2 stages. The first one is living by your own rules, and the second one, living effortlessly. So living by your own rules, it's about authenticity. It's about the stage that we discussed when we talk about leadership, right? And then it was a little bit more leadership focused. Here, it's about yourself, how you see yourself as your self-concept, how you define yourself, how you define your identity. How does it look in comparison to where you would like to be? Where is this definition of identity coming from? Does it work for you? What doesn't work? So you look at yourself, how you perceive yourself, because very often how we perceive ourselves, it actually impacts our behavior. So when you can rewrite your story or reshape your self-concept, or like in my case, dissolve your identity completely. I don't believe I can do it because it's not sometimes up to human, decision, the identity dissolution thing. But so moving slightly in this direction, you free yourself for everything that doesn't serve you. And from this place, you can start living by your own rules, providing that you have meaning why you're living for, because otherwise it becomes aimless and it doesn't serve us. It's challenging. I've been in a situation where I was aimless and it didn't end with anything good. So something that I wouldn't recommend to anybody. We need to know why we're here, because it helps to get through life that is often not easy, to say lightly. So that's the first thing. You become yourself. And the second step, you train your mind on how not to get back to all those things that we've just shared, everything that we removed, how to stay in this place of pure authenticity. because everything that we go through comes from our thinking, and our thinking comes from our thoughts, and thoughts come from our conditioning. So we eliminate conditioning through the stage of living by your own rules, so freedom to be yourself, right? And then we move to the stage freedom to create. And freedom to create, this is opportunity to achieve whatever you want to achieve, but from the place of peace and harmony, in being in comfort with yourself and the world around you. And yes, it includes certain exercises and practices to be able to keep your mind at peace and keep it empty. But, that's going to mean that your transformation is complete. And it's not one-off exercise. The transformation is one-off process, but then it's for the rest of your life. So that is as sustainable change as it can be.
Erin, my audience will be excited to help any important information that is going to be beneficial to them. Do you have any exciting news you'd like to share? Perhaps important information or project in the pipeline?
Well, the project they're all same because the programs are kind of encompassing, right? So it's difficult, challenging to add or to remove something because the transformation process, when we need to go deep and then we need to resurface. I don't believe they're going to be changing anytime soon. Apart from exciting news or projects, yes, there is a 50% discount running on the book, strategy book. It's about business and brand strategy and covers everything a business person needs to know about strategic marketing in the easiest possible way. It's not academic, it's not scary, so it's quite an easy read with a bit of sarcasm and dry humor and whatever I could allow myself, not to going too much over the border. So yeah, that's another exciting thing that is running at the moment, and I guess that's about it. And being on this wonderful show and sharing all this information with you.
Thanks so much for sharing that with my audience. We wish you a brilliant success in the project and also in the subsequent ones that you will with us. Thank you once again, Andre. Do you have any parting word you'd like to share? And also don't forget to drop your social media and your website.
Okay. Don't be afraid of looking beyond what you don't like in yourself, because what we don't like in ourselves, it's not who we are. This is what we acquired, because when we go back to who we're meant to be, we are so likable, so you're really gonna enjoy knowing yourself. Don't be afraid. If you don't like, it's not you. You acquired it. And if you acquired it, you can get rid of it. So be more confident about who you are, because you're much better than what you think you are. Start from this place.
Great. Thanks for the motivation, Harry. Your social media handles on your website. And also, how can we access the book?
The book? You mean how we can access the book?
Yes, and if you may like to share your social media handles also on your website.
Yeah, absolutely. All information gonna be in the show notes. There's no point of spelling it out loud, but if you're interested, you're gonna find it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Erin Andrea Craske, for sharing your thoughts on today's show, especially focusing on your trademark, discovering effortless strategy, both in our personal life and also in our business. Erin is a business and leadership success coach and also an award-winning strategy. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. We really transformed by your insights on today's show. Wish you best of luck once again. Now, if you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, you can do so on any cross-promotion platforms or any podcast distribution platforms you bump into. And you have a good time listening to experts, listening to professional thought leaders, They share disruptive mindset conversation, yet constructive in nature, about topics or subjects under personal development and self-improvement. I need you to always stay safe. I talk to you soon. For now. Thanks so much, Erin.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.